I'm about to serve a customer when I notice an elderly man who I've never seen before. He's got one hand on the door handle and he's standing, peering inside the cafe, and then he turns and carries on down the street. Through the plastic divider, I say, people are doing that. They run away when we're busy. They don't want to come in. I pause. I watch the customer tug her mask over her nose. That's £6.50, please. She hands over the money and tells me she is glad to be using cash again. She can't budget when she has to pay for everything by card. I nod. Agreement. She looks around, searching for the table that will make her feel the most tucked away. As she's walking across the cafe, someone else walks up to the counter and asks, "What happened to the security?" Security, I ask. "Counting people in and out," he says. "No, not here. We're just a cafe." He huffs, heads back to his table, and I hear him grumbling about lockdown and policing and numbers and stats, and I shake my head, get back to work. The cafe has been open, wonderfully open, for a few months. It felt odd at first to dust off the tables and chairs, wash down the tablecloths, put a bottle of hand sanitizer at every table. But on the first day, it was hectic. Well, I had to turn people away. But it calmed down, when people found other places to go, like the restaurants that had reopened with fancy shelters separating their tables. Sometimes I'd sit in the cafe for hours without a single customer. Yeah. Just me, the coffee machine bubbling away sadly behind me. Now though, most of my regulars are back. They fill up the table, sitting separately but enjoying the little noises of people in the same physical space. A couple of the old faces, they haven't returned. I don't know where they are. If they're still in the city, if they are keeping themselves safe from the disease behind walls and windows, or... No. I'm not going to think about what else might have happened to them. I am trying to remember town at its quietest, when there were only 2 or 3 people around, and they'd always be walking with purpose through the precinct, keeping to their parallel tracks as if some intangible force were repelling them from each other. It feels like that time could never have happened. I mean, did it really? Were we kept away, kept apart for that long? Oh, I hated when the cafe was closed in the first lockdown. But when I spent real time there, I realised it was the perfect space for my daughter and I to spend our days. Oh, better than feeling stuck in our little flat. I'd invested in decent Wi-Fi a while back, so it was easy, to set her up at the table with a laptop, a notepad and a glass of juice. I would bite my lip as she did the schoolwork I gave her, not knowing if I was doing it right. But slowly, we found a routine together. I would help her with schoolwork in the morning, and in the afternoons, I would leave her to draw, or write, or watch something on the laptop, while I batch-cooked meals to take to my mum's. We dropped them off on Mum's doorstep on the way home. We'd be brave, smiling, waving at her through the front room window. Then lockdown came again, and once again, every table in the cafe was empty. But my little girl, she was back at school. She cried. She asked not to go. She was so used to the smallness of our world. I taught her to avoid everyone, and suddenly she's expected to face a school full of people, each of them individually, invisibly breathing on her in the corridors. I missed her. See you next week. Yeah, same time, same place. Yeah, bye. Oh, those two ladies, they settle in the cafe every week, at the table by the window. I don't ask them to come to the counter anymore. I just walk over with my notepad, ready to take their order. And they always beckon me to sit down for a minute. They tell me how much they've missed this, and each other. Oh, and that they have been pals for 60 years, yeah. And they spent most of lockdown sneaking into each other's back gardens. And that their grandchildren went to house parties and managed to dodge fines by hiding in cupboards when the police came knocking. And then today they told me they were lucky to be here. And they were quiet for a minute, their faint smiles nudging into the silence the words leave. I made their coffee and served them the biggest slices of cake I had. I pick up my girl from school and sometimes as a treat, we get a pasty and head down to the playground down by Bull Yard. I sit with the other adults chatting about vaccines and school bubbles, and it feels as though I'm the only one still wearing a mask. Although, when I walk past the test centre, the lad outside is masked and he stands well away from everyone else who isn't. Someone says to me, "I just want life back." And I think about that all week. The days rumble towards the weekends when I know town will be busy, loud and alive. Every week this happens, like a tide. The wave of people will crash and froth away when Monday begins. There are lots of types of days. Some days I sit in Broadgate before work when the benches are damp with last night's rain. I only have Lady Godiva and her horse for company, watching over the city like a lockdown patrol. On other days, it is bright and the benchwood's warm as the sun begins to climb up over the sky. The city transforms slowly, and I watch it all. Its silence becomes bustle, and before long, everywhere it's busy, loud and full. The streets that have been dragging through the lockdowns now seem light. People walk by, they're smiling, and I can see their smiles. But lining the square, like ornaments, there are people hidden by masks. I see them sidestep around large crowds. They're trying to escape the crowd and find empty benches out of the centre. Perhaps they'd have better luck by the cathedral or down in University Square. They're not ready yet for the city. I walk into my cafe, blinking in the light. I go about each day as it swings from quiet to busy. From behind my counter, I see the city. I watch it pick itself up and move along past my windows. I think, we're doing it. We're rediscovering the joy in having company. The city, this city, holds us together, leads each person towards another down the bustling streets.